Welcome to PEP Talks with Eric, where we shift gears from negative feedback loops and drive towards the life we truly want. I'm your host, Eric Ayers. I believe in the power of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Together, we'll explore how connections fuel our growth and create amazing experiences. In this podcast, we'll tune out the noise of the world and tune into what we really want and what really matters. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of PEP Talks with Coach Eric. I'm your host, Coach Eric, and today is going to be super exciting because with me, I have Mass, and he is just, it's hard to put him into words. I remember being introduced to him by our colleague, Brandon, who is actually going to be on the show next week. And I remember reading Brandon's introduction, and it's basically, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, Eric and Mass, you both need to meet. You're both into mindset, psychology, how the brain works, how it shifts the physiology of your body. And so I'll leave it in your hands. And then I met with Mass, and it's like we knew each other from a different life from, 10 years ago. And we just picked up conversation, and it was incredible. And since then, I have been on his podcast a couple of times. We have talked about all kinds of fun mindfulness and mental capacity and law of attraction, all kinds of fun stuff. So today, I'm super excited to have him on the show. And Mass, man, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you. You allowing me to come on.
Absolutely. And tell the listeners, all right, where are you from and where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Denmark, specifically a small town called Frederiksværk. Yeah, good about you just spelling that because I think one of the letters are not on your keyboard.
Fair enough. And hopefully you guys will understand through this episode. His humor is contagious. It is awesome. Just is so inviting. And I love talking to him. I'm ready to dive into this. I'm super excited. So first of all, Mass is like, I want to jump into your story of your journey from reckless living to business leadership. Walk us through that a bit.
Well, it's always been a few turning points where you realize this may be going a bit too far. Rolling 1.5 times, ending up in a random person's garden in between a house and a tree with a little bit on each side. Kind of doing, one of these precision driving that's just on the roof, kind of put things into perspective. There might be a few things that need to change. Saying that, change, at least for me, didn't just necessarily happen like that. Because I made the mistake of, I wanted to do all of these things, and I definitely pursued them. I think I was pretty good with it for about half a year, but I didn't necessarily change my environment. When I say environment, that doesn't mean like moving halfway across the world, but just being around the same people. And if you're around the same people that's doing these bad activities, you're going to have a very hard time changing all of those bad habits you want to change. And you just, it becomes normal in some sense. You keep doing this, and then it becomes more and more normal right up until you're doing weed and cocaine and all kinds of things. I think we probably shouldn't mention too many of them. Sometimes the platforms are not too big fan of all those words. But yeah, once you're doing all this and just kind of mixing it, and the doctor looks at you when you tell her about the cocktail you did, like, you're quite lucky to be alive. Again, that kind of put things into perspective. So it's all like a gradual change of just keep trying to do a little bit better each day and focusing on what I can do today and trying to look at the good things you're doing and the indirect direction you're moving compared to focusing on all the negative shit that's going around. Because if you want to find some, it's easy enough. It's not necessarily hard.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, all right, let's dissect this a little bit. A significant car crash, right? That led to an idea of needing to shift, needing to change something. And in order to change, I gathered this, and this is kind of a highlight through most people that I speak with who has had a transition, is the understanding that where you get to needing to transition, and I call this like recognizing your misalignment with who you are. We get to a point where we feel misaligned, and sometimes that presents as being off balance. So I've referred to it, it's like walking with one shoe on, right? You can still walk,
Very
but
comfortable.
right, it's uncomfortable, and it doesn't align you. So you did not create, I did not get to my misalignment overnight. It wasn't one decision or one choice that led to my misalignment. It was one bad decision after another, after another, after another. And likewise, when we transition, it doesn't happen like that. Just like you said, it's one different decision and then another one and then another one. And all of a sudden you look around and you're like, oh, I'm aligned. I feel better. I feel me. And it's a process. So within that process, man, so you come out of this car accident, this car crash, and you're like, okay, I need to change. But to your point, we still have these bad habits. We still have these negative feedback loops that we've created. How do we stay focused on what we know we need to do with these negative feedback loops still going? How do we shift those into positive ones?
Well, I guess there's only really one way. I'm going to throw back to something I learned a long time ago. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Don't make things too complex.
Yeah.
Focus on a few things you can do. Like I'm going to make a little bit of rattle here. Have like a journal where you write down 3 things you're proud of each day, or have a list on your phone with things you want to get accomplished. Just focus on what you can do today and not try to make up this whole complicated scheme that's actually going to spend more time scheming than you are doing anything. And you're not even going to remember it after a while because it's like, what was I read here? And then all of these steps. Like, try to make something like nice, easy, simple. So don't overcomplicate it. And try out different things. Like, try out many different things. Like, because what works over here might not necessarily work for you. I was a year ago I was watching a lot of different YouTube. I still do. And I saw all of these different successful people. And one thing clicked to me. Not one of these successful people is saying the exact same thing. They're all saying do this instead. And then one of them saying do this, but definitely don't do this. And the other person saying definitely do this, but definitely don't do this. Not really like one path. It's specific to each individual. And everybody's different and unique. So I think that's also one thing with back to social media.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of comparisons. Compare yourself to all of these different people. How often do you post, Eric, when something goes terribly bad in your life or you're feeling depressed?
Not a lot.
Exactly. So
not a lot.
Gotta be skewed towards everything is fucking amazing everywhere else.
Absolutely.
But not here.
Yeah, true, because it offers an illusion, and maybe, I love this. I love that we're tapping into this because there's no one size fit all, because like we all didn't get to where we are the same way. So we're all not going to require the same tools to get out, and we all respond and react totally different. So I love the keeping it simple, because like as simple as journaling, it sounds simple. To me, it's very difficult to put into process. Why? Because it's different than my current process. And any change creates uncomfortableness and I don't want to do it. But like Napoleon Hill identified in 1935 that all successful people write down what they want. So why don't we just start there? It's super simple, right? This is what I want. And all of a sudden it opens this mindset, and which allows the chemical cocktails within our body to release, to drive us in the emotion of where we want to go. So yeah, journal. super easy, super impactful though, right? But what happens and when you journal, like you have to review it. And I'm going to point out one more thing. In journaling, it's not to keep score. It's not to say, I didn't live up to this expectation. I didn't do this. It is simply putting it out into the world of what you want and making yourself 0.5% better than yesterday. That's it. That's it. That's your metric, right?
Yeah, it's not going to change overnight. And I think it's going to be a bit, you try to play a bit of the other side of that.
Yeah, go for it.
Part of journaling. Even though I mention it, I don't journal very often. Might sound arrogant. I feel like I don't have to. I have a very reflective brain that always thinks, oh, what could I have done here? What could I have done here? What's the reason here? I mean, just kind of process everything, which, from my understanding, is what a lot of people do by journaling or meditation.
Right.
My brain just does that to relax.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to solve this problem while it's going to bed. Very relaxing to me.
Well, and that's a great point, because some people need a step-by-step process in order to say, all right, I'm so confused. There's so many things out there that are telling me what to do, and I don't want to try them all, but I need to know a step-by-step process, right? And having a journal allows that analytical mind to slow down and to be like, all right, this is my step 1, and this could be my step 1 through 10, depending on how my journaling goes. So again, it depends on the person, right?
Exactly. It all comes down to different individuals. And it's a good thing. I like the whole thing of journaling, because saying I'm going to reflect about something within my head, it's kind of a little bit too unprecise to some extent to really be put on the goal list, where I'm going to write 3 things in my journal. Like, that's something you can put on, I want to do every day, get into the habit, and then kind of lay off the journal.
Yeah.
But journaling is definitely a good place to start.
Right.
Just with how it activates your brain a bit more. And when you do journal, actually do it with one of these or one of these, because it activates a lot more your brain when you actually have to sit there and write letters compared to typing on a keyboard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wayne Dyer would write books. He would handwrite it. He did not want electronics because of the way that the energy transfers over from him into the readers and into the paper. And so and it activates something within you. Absolutely. I love that. So, all right. Tapping into people becoming better people. I mean, ultimately, dude, this is leadership, right?
Yeah. If you're trying to help people to become better people, to some extent, that's leadership. So I don't know the exact definition.
No. And I think there's various definitions of leadership, right? But my most simplified version of leadership is, if you have people who are willing to follow you, you're leading them, right? And if people are following you, they need to have an environment that is set up, that is conducive for them to improve and to become their best self, to align to who they are. But we can't do that if we're misaligned or if we're not working on ourselves. So you had a little bit of this go on in as you were learning leadership, I'll put it that way, at a company, correct?
Yeah. A little bit of management. Fun time.
So, can you share a little bit about that experience, about from leadership, and as you're going through, mindset shifts and understanding yourself and offering an environment for others to understand themselves?
Well, I think there's 2 very important things within leadership. First of all, people don't owe to follow you. You have to earn that kind of stuff.
Correct.
And secondly, your employees or the people you're leading, in whatever scenario it is, they are how you view them. In the way what I mean when I say that is, if you think they're all useless, they're all going to be useless, because you're going to see reasons why they're useless, and you're subconsciously or consciously going to treat them like they're useless. And therefore, they're going to subconsciously or consciously choose to be useless, because You think that anyway, so why even try? Because you can probably not change that. But if you take the shift of, I'm going to start finding something positive in at least one of my people each day, then all of a sudden they're all going to look like rock stars. Some more than others, though. There's still going to be difference in performance, but they're actually going to find it, okay, what are these people good at? And you also, when it comes to leadership, so whatever happens down here, that's your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever you hired them, you let them wrong, you misinformed them, you didn't train them well enough. Somehow, it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this, that's the rule. And therefore, it's also important for you to put people in the right positions, which is what you're going to learn when you start looking at what did this person do well, because there you're going to learn what's their strengths and weaknesses. Where can I best use their abilities to gain the best results for the company, for them, that kind of stuff.
Two things. First of all, when you started talking about this, you've leaned in. I could feel the energy of the excitement, and I love when you start bringing in the conscious versus subconscious mind, because like it reminds me of the first time you and I chatted, right? And that understanding. But yes, so ultimately you describe the Ubuntu of leadership, of like, you know, the quote behind me, the Einstein says, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to spend its whole life thinking it's an idiot. How is that any different? We have a group of people that we are leading, and if we focus on the things that they do not do well, they will continue not doing well, because that's what we're focused on. Instead, let's highlight their gifts, because they all have gifts. They all have attributes. Those are superpowers. And, you know, you've heard me talk about my Justice League of people that I have in my mind, of all the teachers and mentors that have taught me along the way. I depend on them for certain things. Like Bob Proctor is my go-to for law of attraction, for paradigm shifts. Like that's his attribute. That's his superpower. But if I look at him for, I don't know, the study of Kabbalah, he's not going to know anything. He's not going to help me in that. So I love what you said. So how, this is my question to you then, how do we recognize the value that, that our people, that our employees, that our team brings to the table? And how do we capitalize on that?
Well, you start looking at what they do well in, and you start trying to find what they do well in, because that's the only real way to find it. You generally find what you look for. Just the same thing when you drive a car in a certain color, you know, there's all the cars that are the exact same color and the exact same model because you're in that car.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in leadership. Same thing with people. You find what you look for. So if you want to find out what they're good at, go in with the intention of trying to recognize them, acknowledge them. Because if you go into acknowledge them, it has to be real, first of all, because if not, they can definitely feel it. And secondly, because it's real, you find what they're good at. You have to, otherwise it's going to be very hard challenge to set for yourself.
Right. Oh, okay. There's another aspect to this as well, because 100% we find exactly what we look for. And that's also within us as well. So if we are seeking to live up to unrealistic expectations, then we are going to continually find unrealistic expectations. But if we spend our time seeking to, like we said earlier, a little bit better than we were yesterday, to reflect and improve upon who we are, and to come into alignment, to design this life that we want, then that's exactly what we're going to find. And it sounds crazy when you're in the midst of chaos, but ultimately when you're able to drown out the chaos and not be part of the chaos and focus on, what do I want? And what can I offer? And all of a sudden you start finding these amazing characteristics that may have been hidden, or you may have never known you had until this reflective space. So it's internal and external as well. And I think that's the beauty of true leaders, is what they offer their people, they offer to themselves as well.
Your reflection, you're like a walking mirror. That's a very true saying.
Yes. Yes. And that's what coaching is, right? It's shining a mirror for someone else to, it's a loving mirror to show someone else maybe things that they haven't identified yet, to allow them to work on that and empower them. Oh, awesome. So you actually help coaches create content, or learn how to create content that doesn't take away their time and enhances their clientele, which ultimately impacts humanity.
Yeah, if you pick the right coaches, and I try to. Well,
Okay.
it impacts humanity in a good or bad way, depending on who you sign up for. That's always the thing.
Yeah.
Which is why you don't want to sign or work with just anyone and everyone.
So what would you recommend as a content strategy from your perspective in positively impacting humanity? Outside of, I understand you have to pick the right person. That's like picking the right leader, right?
Well, kind of going back to not trying to make content for everybody or trying to work with anyone in the other way that reflects is, if you even, let's say you want to have a positive impact on the world, you want to help everybody. End of the day, that's not really going to resonate with anyone. So unless you have a lot of money and you're just going out handing out money to people love that kind of stuff on social media. I don't think that content strategy is going to work very well. You want to, okay, who am I actually going to help? Where can I add the most value? It's the same reason why I always ask on calls and people, you build those connections. Like, what is your special force? What do you do different? How are you better? What's your speciality? Kind of those kind of questions. Because I don't want to. There's plenty of website designers. There's plenty of coaches. There's plenty of marketers. There's plenty people that help coaches with content. So what do you do that's special? That's one of the things you want to be very, very clear on. And then make sure your content is personalized. You don't want to just sell here, sell there, sell everywhere. For sure, that's the goal, but probably you only should be around every 5% a post should be sales. Not much more than that. Because then you're just going to turn people away. Like, this person's only here for money. You want to really build that trust. That's the most important thing. Because the thing with the internet, social media, is it's not very hard to find a different coach or a different content marketer.
Right.
You could very easily find them. It's not necessarily hard. What's hard is to find the good ones, the ones you can actually resonate with, that's going to build a good relationship with you. And you have the choices, so why go with anything that's mediocre? So focus on how can you add value for sure, but also focus on how are you unique? Why should people trust you? I would say even have more emphasis on that compared to tips and tricks. I heard a great quote where community is not built around tips and tricks. It's built around shared beliefs and shared beliefs, not common interest, but shared beliefs. That's what community is truly built around. And then maybe a little bit secondarily, shared interest.
Right.
More than all of the, what can I do?
Right.
Because no matter how niche you go, there's somewhere, someone in the world that's doing the exact same thing as you. There's too many people for that not to be true.
Right. Right. And now with the expanded virtual world that we have, it's super easy to scale this, into, we're not confined to a location now. Now it can be everywhere, right? I love that you brought trust into this, because to me, that's the glue that puts the two together in terms of leadership. And what we do as in our human service industry within coaching is developing trust, which creates safety, right? And the safe space for us to learn, play, grow, and to make mistakes. And trust allows that to happen. So yeah, thank you for that, man. All right. Any insider understanding or recommendations on platforms or types of content or anything like that once we know this is who we're solving for and this is what I offer?
Well, end of the day, we're making content for humans. So all of the technical stuff like SEO platforms, all this kind of stuff, I would mostly cross all of it out. Think about what platforms you enjoy, what platforms you would enjoy making content for, and focus on that. Because I believe that if you can create a lot better content for TikTok, even though you do business coaching, make content for TikTok. For sure, it has to be very different compared to if you do it on LinkedIn. You probably don't talk too much about specific business coaching tips there.
Yeah.
Probably a different way of going about that, telling some horror stories, going through some very explosive what things went very wrong, making a little bit graphic people see to like that. But you're gonna perform a lot better on TikTok. There's people that's selling private jets on TikTok. Just saying. Like they get the leads, not all of them for sure, but leads do actually come in from TikTok to sell a private jet. Sell a private jet there, I'm pretty sure you can sell anything in the world. Private jets they're a little bit pricey. Probably pricier than most people's services that listening to this podcast, I imagine. That's also like a very business-related thing. But these business people, they do relax from time to time. So they scroll TikTok. The reason why I say TikTok is it's actually still not banned in Europe. We do have it. So Instagram might be a better example, thinking about this might be a primary US audience.
Yeah, but we got it back.
Oh, you got it back,
yeah, we got TikTok back. Yeah. So
I had a podcast where we talked about TikTok, and I had to kind of do a bit of editing because that was the time where TikTok went down because it was ordered a month before. Like, damn, that panicked.
So the platform, you brought in like authenticity. So like, if I'm a LinkedIn person, why should I look to making specific things for like TikTok or, whatever? Because LinkedIn is natural to me. It's my authentic self. That doesn't mean I can't post on other things, but my focus is on LinkedIn because that actually helps me either conserve or create energy versus draining me because it's misaligned with who I am. So I love that, man.
At least you just stay consistent because you want to do it.
Correct. And and you're not being forced to, or like, I have to. So I love that. All right, man. As we kind of begin to wind this down a bit, what is one resource that completely shifted the trajectory of your life or offered you a different lens to see the world through that changed your trajectory, that you would offer the listeners?
LinkedIn, actually.
LinkedIn, really?
It's a great place to meet people. Where else can you DM somebody that's a CEO and have a chance of them just jumping on a call with you? Some of them are very busy, but you can't really do that any other place. I bet if you send out 100 connection requests with, probably have to pay for Sales Navigator, but still, you send out 100 connection requests with a personalized message saying you would like to learn from them. I bet you at least get one call with a CEO. Probably, maybe you could do that on Instagram, but I never had it as easy time with it. Like, people are just very open to speak to you on LinkedIn and actually build a relationship with you.
Interesting. I've never even thought about that. So asking this question over and over, and even asking it to myself, I always think of books and podcasts and people. And I love this answer because yes, it's like a resource hub, right? It's like
meet all the people you want.
Meet all the people you want. You can find information from people, and that's the cool part. And that's why I'm like, oh, that's why my mind is going crazy right now, because it's putting the pieces together in terms of, it's not only me picking up a book and learning from the author. It's, why don't I connect with the author and learn directly from them the information that they wrote about, right? That's where my mind is connecting this. And brilliant answer, man. Brilliant answer. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, end of the day, the more people you know, the easier life is going to become. When you run into a problem, you don't have to do a Google search. You can send off a quick message, and if it's a person you built a relationship with, they might even be willing to jump on a call with you to fix it
Right
on a call. It's a lot easier that way. Good place to keep track of everything.
For sure. And ultimately, man, that's the Ubuntu, the I am because we are. Like, I literally am because of the community of people that I've interacted with throughout my life, current, past, and future. Like, and likewise, those that I interact with, it impacts their life, good or bad, depending on the interaction, right? But ultimately, like, that's how we build community. And I love that, especially in this tech advanced world of and separation through virtual meetings and virtual learning. There's still opportunities for human connection.
Yeah, it's never been easy to meet people, because there's so many people that's sitting at home working remote, that's kind of maybe desperate is over stretching a little bit, but almost desperate, at least actually having that human connection with a real person to have a few common shared interests with. And I think online people are just happy to see a message that isn't trying to sell them anything.
For sure.
At least he's not trying to sell me anything.
Right. They're actually wanting something of value, which is knowledge through learned experience. Right.
And people love to teach. If we can put them in a position where they're kind of a teacher, people would be a lot more open to speaking to you, or just start a podcast, just to press record and have a conversation with them. That's not a tool that all of a sudden people love to speak to you that otherwise wouldn't have.
Right.
And you can ask them all the questions, because it's like, they're not going to ask you to, you have to sign up to some coaching programs. No, if you're recording a podcast, they're just going to give you the answer because they want the promotion.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to ask for a final piece of advice, but man, I think you just
I have one. I have an
okay.
offer.
Then go for it.
So we talked about
you
making content for humans, and therefore, for example, you should drop your SEO optimized titles, drop your SEO optimized descriptions, drop your SEO optimized content or algorithm optimized content. Make your content human optimized, and all do well.
So humanize your optimization. Is that what I hear?
Ask yourself, when you make like that little thumbnail or the little picture for your podcast and the description, is this actually what a human would like to read? Is it easy for a human to read? Does it make sense to a human? Can a human understand this? And then, if it's really, really good content, I'm pretty sure that algorithms doesn't care about if it's SEO optimized, because they can see this piece of content, people watch it all the way through, 90% of them. I better show this to more people because this is keeping people on the platform and we're making a lot of money.
Interesting. So, bringing this back together, taking it one step further, not only humanize the optimization, but ensuring that thumbnail, for example, that you spoke of, does this not only speak to the humans, but does it speak to the niche human audience that you are providing your services for, to get into that that detailed of a understanding.
Yeah, like make it for the humans who actually want to see the content, and then they'll try and make it optimized for anything else. Because the algorithms nowadays are so smart.
Yeah.
They can see if the people you want to watch your content watches your content and enjoys your content. It will be kind of silly not to show more people that content.
Right.
Because there might be a lot of content being pushed nowadays. But I still hear, like, when you hear like a big influencer speaking about something, the platforms are still missing enough good content. For example, on YouTube, I don't know how often, it's really on a daily or at least a weekly basis, I get recommended videos I already watched. Because apparently can't find any other videos that I do want to watch that I haven't watched yet.
I got you. Interesting. I love this intentionality of your content. I mean, this goes without saying, like, this should happen, but sometimes it's overlooked. So thank you for that. All right, Mass Man, thank you for joining us. I could talk for hours. Where can people find you if they need your help, if they want your guru guidance or need you to do some work for them? Where can they find you, my friend?
Of course, on LinkedIn. And that's...
of course.
I hope you have my name spelled out in the description.
Yes.
Because
if
I try and say it, I'm pretty sure people won't be able to spell it.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say that.
Rossau.
Absolutely,
I'll let people try and spell that in their head before they go down and look. First of all, little hint, there's a D in my first name, which isn't said. So there's the first problem. So, of course, LinkedIn, YouTube, the business library. That's
okay.
You can go on and also check Eric's episode we had on there where we really went into Ubuntu. I don't know how much chance you've had to speak about it on PEP Talks with you so far because you interview a lot of people. So a lot of people that's curious about that. Before you go down, check that out.
Absolutely.
And also Instagram, because I post just my daily journey on Instagram like week by week. So that's probably one of the best places just to stay up to date. What's going on? What kind of exciting things am I working on? What potential do I see in the world? And just, those quick snippets of advice that doesn't necessarily fit into my marketing strategy on LinkedIn with what I'm doing there and the podcast. So all of the extra stuff where I actually say probably what the most value is because it just allows you to roam free and that's just mess with self. So cut out the middle lane.
Okay, perfect. And we will have all of these in the description below to make it easier. So then they don't have to figure out how to spell this. They don't have to sound it out. Awesome. Well, Bass, thank you so much, man. This was awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me on, Eric. I had a pleasure. Great time speaking to you like always.
I concur, my friend. And guys, like, hopefully you understood that and gathered from this that in order for us to transition to become who we are meant to be, to realign with our true purpose, to begin this journey of whatever in the world we want, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not super simple. It's simple. It's not easy, right? And it's a step by step. And you keep taking these small steps of intentionality to where you want to be. And one day you look around and you're exactly where you need to be. And that is what we're all here for. That's what we're here to help you with. And I appreciate you for joining us on this ride and this journey of transformation as we move into our true purpose. So, guys, thank you for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you the next episode. And until then, be well, be love. Thank you for joining me on PEP Talks with Eric, where together we shift our focus, embrace connection, and drive towards a more fulfilling life. Remember, it's not just about where you're headed, but how you choose to travel along the way. As you continue your journey, know that you have the power to change lanes and focus on the path that leads to positivity, purpose and connection. Let's stay connected and continue empowering your journey one commute at a time. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. And until then, be well, be loved.